Ricky McGee, welcome to the program.
Yes, hello, how are you?
I'm good, thank you. Geez, I don't know where to start. You know, when I read your book, I just went, well, actually, when I finished it, I thought I didn't know where to start with questions with you. But you know, obviously for those people who don't know your story and haven't read your book, how did you initially get or find yourself stuck in the outback with no shoes, car, water or food?
Basically, nearly 2 years ago now, I was travelling across Australia to a job interview from Queensland to Port Hedland in the Western Australia side of town, and I happened to be crossing through the centre of Australia, the Northern Territory, on a road called Bunteen Highway in the Tanami Desert, and I stopped to help some people who are allegedly or pretending to be broken down, and I let one of them in my car, and he's slipped something in a drink that I had beside me, and I ended up getting drugged and robbed and left for dead in the middle of the desert, and basically, managed to survive for 71 days, eating frogs and lizards and leeches and other bits and pieces, a few different types of vegetation, things like that.
Now, there's a bit of your background in the book.
Yes.
You sort of come across as sort of a street smart kind of guy.
Yeah.
Why on earth did you stop for these blokes?
Well, I mean, I'm generally nice by nature, and I'm 6'3". Back then I was 105 kilos, so I was pretty big, and I can sort of look after myself pretty well. And out of the three that were pretending to be broken down, I picked the smallest one of the lot and let him in my car, not thinking, I thought at the end of the day this guy can't put it over me if something happens. But the last thing that ever entered my mind was the fact that I could be drugged in my own car, perhaps in a nightclub or something like that in the city, but out in the middle of nowhere, in my own car. That thought never even crossed my mind.
Yeah, so you actually were thinking of the physical danger, but you just didn't think you'd be
Anything
drugged
else.
in the process.
Anything else, yep.
How old were you at the time?
I was 36.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
So what was your state of health at that time?
I was fairly, pretty fit. On the ball, so to speak. Thought I could handle myself pretty well, so,
So what were your first thoughts when you found yourself stuck in the middle of nowhere?
What the hell happened, and what the hell am I doing here? How did this happen to me, And when I first sort of woke up and found myself sitting there in the middle of the desert with nothing around me, no shoes, no socks, no car, just trying to remember what happened for the first couple of hours, just sitting there in the sun was daunting in itself. And then I sort of think it started coming back to me, what had happened, replaying it over in my head, and then I thought, damn, I better not sit here for too long. There's obviously a road around here somewhere, so I better get up and try and find it. And ended up walking for nearly 10 days before I actually found another road, which wasn't really a road. It was a cattle station road, and sort of went on from there.
So how many days, like initially, did you go without water?
Well, the first 2 days, I ended up drinking my own urine twice, once on the first day and once on the second day. And for anyone that ever has to do that, make sure you let it cool down first. It's pretty rugged.
How did you actually do it?
I had boxer shorts on, and I sort of peed into my boxer shorts and then wrung my boxer shorts out in my mouth. And the first time I had to do it was just really rugged because it was still hot, and I didn't stop and think about that too long. But the second time I had to do it, I was a bit better prepared for it, but it still tasted fairly disgusting. So I don't advise it to anyone. But when you find yourself in that position, at least let it cool down first. But then on the third day, I remember standing on a ridge after I'd been walking for a couple of days, and I saw some rain clouds off in the distance, and I sort of saw a bit of a shower, and so I sort of made a beeline for it, and by the time I got there, the rain had passed, but it left a few puddles of water, and it sort of went on from there. I just sort of started chasing rain clouds around in an easterly direction, trying to find a road at the same time.
Puts a whole new meaning to Rain Man, doesn't it? What about your feet and walking?
Yeah.
Because that was a real issue, wasn't it?
It was, it was. I slashed my feet up something really bad over the first few days, and then I had a pair of shorts and a t-shirt on, so I ended up tearing the t-shirt that I had on in half and wrapping that around my feet, and trying to cut the slashing that I was actually getting walking across rocks, and all the splinters I was getting from the shards of grass and stuff like that. And that was about as much as I could do to sort of save my feet a little bit. And just during the day, I'd sort of pull up and try and give my feet a bit of a rest in the heat of the day as much as I could.
Yeah.
Until eventually I found the first dam that I came across, where I ended up camping there for 10 days, just to mainly for one reason, just to give my feet a bit of a rest and try and recuperate a bit, so I could keep walking.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Now, what about sleeping, particularly in the beginning?
In the beginning it was pretty rugged because the Mozzies out there are horrendous. There's about 10 different types of Mozzies that all attack you at the same time, and I remember one night there, it felt like there was just 100,000 of them all sucking a drop each. I felt that depleted the next day, And so I thought, I've got to do something about this. How many days can you go with all these Mozzies sucking blood out of you every night? So my main aim after the first few nights of being out there was trying to make a little makeshift huts that best kept Mozzies out, or cover myself in mud. Or I remember one time there I came across a little muddy track, and there'd been cows up and down, and while I was rolling around in mud, I sort of had the smell of cow dung all over me as well, but it didn't actually work. So yeah,
Why didn't it work?
Oh, they still managed to bite me through all the crap. So yeah, it wasn't pleasant.
Never had anything so good out there.
No, I know, hey. Yeah, but each time I built a little humpy or a little makeshift house, it got better and better, and then the last one I eventually ended up making was pretty much Mozzie proof, which I was pretty happy about. Most nights I had some Mozzie proof sleep, so yeah.
But I mean, I know if I get one mosquito bite, I just itch like anything.
Yep.
I mean, did it affect you, the bites and everything?
At first it drove me crazy. Then it got to the point where I just tried to switch off from it, and I just tried to do as much as I could to try and keep Mozzies off me, like covering myself in grass and tree branches, anything that smelt like different leaves off different plants, sort of eucalypt smell and stuff. I used to rub on myself. I tried all sorts of things over the next couple of weeks to try and keep them off me, and But at the end of the day, the best thing that worked was a big hole in the ground and cover the top up and just make sure that I closed it up at night, and it sort of kept them out of my hair.
So what did you build or construct as a home towards the end there?
When I found the second dam, I ended up, it just happened to be a cattle mustering point, and because I found myself on a cattle station. Obviously out there they're pretty big. This one happened to be 2,500 square kilometres, so it was a pretty big station. And I found a cattle trough, a feeding trough. For some people who don't know what that is, it's a big steel trough that they used to feed the cows out there, and I ended up dragging that to the top of the dam, and I turned it upside down and used that as my roof, and proceeded to dig a hole underneath it over the next week or so. Actually took me about nearly 2 weeks before it was finished, and I dug a hole about 4.5 foot deep, by as wide as the trough, which was about 3 feet wide, by about 7 feet long, which was as long as the trough, and that's what I sort of spent most of my time in, and just covered the ends with mud, bar a couple of breathing holes, so to speak, and the bits of t-shirt that I had wrapped around my feet, I ended up using them for curtains at the end of the humpy, at the end of the trough, and every night on sunset I used to drop the curtains, and that used to keep the Mozzies out at night, so yeah, it sort of worked pretty well.
Unbelievable.
Yeah.
When you came across the cattle station, though,
Yep.
I mean, did you think that, okay, this is it, someone's going to find me pretty soon?
Yep, I thought I was saved. I thought, yep, this is it. I found a road, came to a set of gates, and it had cattle station, it had a sign pointing this way to the cattle station. I thought, yep, I'm sorted now, I'm saved. And I walked for 3.5 days down this road, looking for a cattle station, and as it turned out, I was about still 55 k's off finding the station when I come to a set of crossroads with a couple of different signs pointing in either direction, and all of a a sudden, you know, I had a decision to make. You know, do I keep walking down this road? Every time I came to a hill, I was expecting to see a farmhouse over the next rise, sort of thing. But it was just more road and more road. And then when I hit the Boree sign, which actually meant the East Bore, but the way it was on the sign, it read Boree. So I thought, oh yeah, this sounds like a place. So I ended up heading down this track, and I mean, lucky I did. The first dam I came across was about 8 k's down the road. So, and as I said, the actual cattle station house itself was another 50 k's up the road, which I just wouldn't have made. I would have died before I got there. So I'm sort of lucky that I took a turn when I did and found the first dam, and then after a while I heard some planes off in the distance, and sort of that's when I headed towards the second dam, which I didn't realise there was a second dam there at the time. But I mean, even that was another 10 k's up the road, which I passed out from dehydration a few times on the way. And the last time I sort of passed out and woke up, I saw this big green grassy hill off in the distance, and I thought, oh, there's green grass there, there's got to be water there somewhere. So yeah, finally sort of crawled the last 500 metres to that one, and that was where I ended up for the last 6 weeks that I was out there.
Now, even once you had built your humpy as well, you still had problems, didn't you, when it poured down with rain? And
Yeah, it was the end of the wet season, but I mean, out there they have, when it rains, they have pretty hard torrential rain, and I basically built my humpy, and I dug all the hole underneath around it, and then one night there, the rain poured in, and the humpy started to fill up. It turned into a bath rather than a shelter, you know, and parts of the sides of the walls sort of were caving in on my head and all around me, and I thought, oh no, here we go, it's all over now, you know, I'm going to end up with this, you know, 50 kilo steel lid coming down in on me. But luckily enough, I managed to keep it up in the air, and the next day I ended up digging a lot of mud out from around the dam bank wall and packed it all up around my humpy and made it a little bit more stable, so in case it rained again, which luckily it didn't rain too much again after that. But yeah, it was a bit of a headache in itself.
How did you actually prevent yourself from not losing your mind and not sort of giving up?
At first, I mean, I never really thought that I would be stuck out there for any length of time in the beginning. So every day I thought, yep, today's the day I'm going to be found, you know, and I had a bit of a routine going where I literally had to go and collect food every day. So, you know, the dam I camped on, there was leeches and frogs and lizards running around and grasshoppers and caterpillars. So I sort of kept myself occupied thinking about getting food every day. And then I used to think about, you know, different TV shows, Simpson episodes that I've watched, and singing, you know, different songs that I had going through my head, and just the thought of getting out, you know, and actually being found, going over that episode in my head 100 different times, 100 different ways every day, you know. What if I'm being, you know, today it might be the day I was found, and maybe I'll get found by a chopper, or maybe the farmer will come along on his motorbike or in the ute, you know. So just different scenarios going over in my head as to how I was going to be found, you know. It wasn't until sort of like the last couple of weeks when I'd lost, you know, nearly 60 kilos, and I was sort of looking at myself thinking, well, there's not much left to me. I'm not sure exactly how much longer I'm going to live, you know. So that was when I started to realise that, yeah, it looks like I'm actually going to die out here. So, yeah.
And at one stage you did have a helicopter hovering quite close, didn't you?
There was at one stage there, I couldn't believe it. You know, I thought, yep, this is it. Here comes the chopper. I heard it coming in the distance, and it literally flew within maybe 50, 60 feet in the air from me, and literally straight over the top of me. And I'm out there waving my hands around like a man possessed, and he just flew straight over the top of me. I couldn't believe it. I was swearing and cursing and, you know, throwing rocks at this thing that was flying over me. But then I thought, oh, well, I've only been here, you know, a week or so now, and I've already seen one chopper, so it shouldn't be too long now before another one flies over. But, yeah, it didn't actually happen again, so, yeah.
You've got did your sense of humour get you through it?
Yeah, sometimes, yeah, I sort of lost my sense of humour after a while. I was like, this isn't funny anymore. You know, yeah, it was there for a little while, but after a while, yeah, I started to get a little bit depressed, and it got to the point where I thought, I've kept myself alive for, you know, for however long now, and after all this, it looks like all my efforts have just sort of gone by the wayside, because it just got to the point where it was so hard to get up out of the humpy every day to get food and water, which I had to do. I had no choice. If I missed a day of food or water, then it was a day closer to death sort of thing. And, you know, I wasn't ready to give up then. I'd already come so far, so...
You had a pretty frightening moment with a pack of dingoes as well, didn't you?
Yeah, there was. I think they could sense that I was getting thinner and weaker, and there was for a while there. It was strange. I had one dingo hang around for a while, and he used to actually follow me around for a bit there when I was collecting food and stuff. He didn't seem like much of a threat. And then a couple of weeks later, there's a whole family of them turned up, and they all sort of sat back and watched. I thought, hell, these guys are sort of waiting for me to die, is what it seemed like. I even got a bit worried and went and collected a few rocks from around the area, and every night I used to pack them up around the entrance to my humpy. So I thought, you know, if they do actually get in and have, you know, if I die and they come in and start eating me, at least they won't be able to drag my body out of the hole. So, you know, they'll have to eat me in there and hopefully leave some bones and some remains behind.
I don't want to sort of really go too much. Well, I don't really want to go into how you were found or how you got out of there, because I just couldn't wait to get to that part in the book, so I don't want to spoil it for anyone. And I couldn't help when I first got the book to go straight to the pictures, and you really do look like someone that's just come out of a you look like a POW, don't you?
That's what the senses I'm getting is. I look like I've just stepped out of a concentration camp or something.
I just couldn't believe it, and then seeing the other photos of you, I thought it's just not the same person.
I know, and that's the funny thing too. When I was found, I mean, I watched. You see your reflection. I saw my reflection in the dam pretty much every day, and you know, it was the first time I'd ever grown a full beard like that, and but you don't actually see yourself properly, and you know, and I watched myself over a period of time get thinner and thinner and thinner, and it wasn't until I was found and they took me back to the station house, and I went to have a shower for the first time in nearly 3 months, and I saw myself in the mirror and I nearly died because you know, the last vision I had of myself wasn't the person looking back at me in the mirror. You know, I just didn't recognise myself, and that sort of shocked me in itself. You know, that sort of put me back a few steps, just not seeing myself again.
How much longer do you think you would have lasted? Because from what I could gather, I reckon sort of a week or 2 weeks at the most.
Yeah, I mean, I was pretty optimistic when I was out there thinking, you know, it could have lasted another week, but another month or so, you know, but realistically, if I had lasted probably another 7 to 10 days, I think I would have been fairly lucky. And as it turned out, the guys that came out that did actually find me weren't supposed to come out and check that area for another month. Because it's such a remote part of the cattle station, they were in the area, and they thought, while we're out here, we might as well check the dams and the fences out there, because they were getting ready for the mustering season, and they didn't want to head to that part of the property again because it was so far out. So they thought, while we're out here, we'll go and check it, and lucky they did, because they found me, and here I am today. Yeah,
now that you've given that part of the book away. The other thought that I had while reading your book was that this kind of thing must happen more often, because I don't remember seeing your story in the news.
And that's the problem. And that's something I really hope people get out of the book and get out of the interviews that I'm doing at the moment, is the fact that as beautiful as the Northern Territory is, and as hard as the job is for the police up there and everything, that this is something real. This does go on out there.
Because what was their reaction from the police?
I mean, at first, the general consensus in the Northern Territory is it's such a vast area, and you know, a lot of bad stuff does go on there. You know, they just generally, it's in the too hard basket when it comes to the police. I'm not saying they don't do their job or anything up there, but they're quick to blame it on in their eyes, obvious things. It must have been criminal related or drug related, or you're just stupid and you walked away from your car and wandered off into the desert. And it's not until you prove them wrong or what they're throwing at you is, you know, I'm sorry guys, but this actually happened. Then it's a matter of, okay, maybe you're telling the truth, and now it's time that they have to get up and do something about it. But by then it's too late.
Because I think also one of the other things you were accused of was trying to commit suicide, weren't you?
Oh, they threw everything at me, as they did to Joanne Lees, and for those people who know the Wolf Creek Saga, the same deal there. You know, it's just, everything they throw at you is just, I don't know, I don't understand it myself. All I know is this really happens. This actually goes on out there, and a lot of people have to be aware that if you're travelling in that part of the territory, you have to let somebody know where you're going. You have to let somebody know where you're leaving from. And if you don't turn up in a certain amount of time, somebody must notify somebody. So if somebody's out looking for you straight away, because if you don't turn up, there's a good chance that you won't. So yeah, it is very dangerous out there, unfortunately, and more people need to be aware that this does actually happen out there. It's not just something that happens randomly. The amount of people that go missing in the Northern Territory is over the top. It's unbelievable, and unfortunately, the rest of Australia don't hear about it. It's the wild, wild west out there. It always has been and still is, and it needs to change.
There's just so many more questions I could ask you, but maybe I'll ask you this: what was a luxury while you were out there?
A luxury, a Mozzie free night was a luxury. Towards the end, when I finally got my humpy to the point where there was only 1 or 2 Mozzies coming in at night, I was quite happy. I would have given up a lot of things, just for that. Yeah, that was a luxury item.
Oh, actually, the other thing is too. What would have happened if this had have happened? 3 months later.
I honestly don't think I would have survived. I was quite lucky. It was the end of the wet season, so there was dams full of water. There was a lot of vegetation, a lot of green vegetation around, and there was a lot of animals running around. Without the rain, I wouldn't have had the vegetation to live off. There wouldn't have been any frogs in the dam. There wouldn't have been any leeches. So half my food source wouldn't have been there, and more than likely, I wouldn't have lasted 3 days, let alone nearly 3 months. I was pretty lucky.
Unbelievable. It's just an absolutely fascinating read. And have you had anyone come to you about movies?
Yes, I have. Actually, the guys that made Wolf Creek.
Oh, okay.
And there's a few other people who have come to us, but because this is another Aussie ordeal along those lines, we're looking at probably doing something with these guys. Only because they know how to make this sort of movie. So, and it is a true story. It is a true, it does actually. The only thing I get across to people out of all this is that the awareness that this does actually happen and something needs to be done about it. Then I'm happy. So
no, that's fantastic. And look, congratulations on surviving something like that.
Thank you very
it's just
much.
Unbelievable, and fantastic that you've written a book about the experience too. Because you're right, it needs to be told, and people need to be aware of it.
Yes.
So well, best of luck for the future.
Thank you very much.
And we look forward to the movie.
No worries.
Thanks very much,
Okay.
Ricky.
Bye bye.
Bye bye.